Sports bikes are dead. Long live sports bikes. Especially that one. The new Honda CBR600RR was launched earlier this year to a bit of a rainy, wet washout at Portimao. We sent Chad along and he came back full of praise. So much so that I've been crazing Honda since to get my own one for a spin on the road. And you know what? You were right, Chad. This thing does not disappoint.
Oh, it's so good to be back on a 600 and back on a proper sports bike. Nothing quite feels as special. Nothing quite makes me turn around and look back at the bike I've just got off as much as riding a proper super sports bike. And I'm a massive fan of things like the new Aprilia RS660 and the Yamaha R7 and all those other kind of middleweight twin cylinder bikes that are kind of taken over from the old school super sport 600s. I think they're great, but they don't feel as special as this, and the fact that this is in the price bracket with them, for me, I'd find it hard not to want one of these. It sounds awesome, it feels awesome, it's a proper super sport bike. It feels like a real Honda superbike, and yeah, sure, it's not that comfortable compared to a touring bike. Sure, it doesn't go off-road very well. Does a bit, but not great. Sure, there's a million reasons why to not have a sports bike, but there's a few very big reasons why to, and if it gets under your skin like it gets under my skin, don't forget how much fun sports bikes can be. And this 600 is lovely on the road because it's not dominated by the engine. You're not spending your entire ride staring at the speedo and panicking. You can enjoy a ride at legal speeds. You can work to get each gear to get your corners right. There's more to it than just coming out of a corner and wanging the throttle open. And then that flicks back to the track. I know lots of people complain about, oh yeah, but when you're on track you get passed on the straights by the thousands. Like, yeah, you do. Get them back at the next corner. Enjoy, especially on UK tracks. A 600 is so satisfying to ride. And again, you can have corner speed back. On 1000, you spend so much time trying to get the thing stopped, turned and fired out. And the new bikes let you do that better than ever. They make riding easier and easier, but there's a lot to be said for getting the absolute most out of a 600 on the track. There's a lot to be said for how few tyres you'll use compared to the 1000 as well. This thing is a wicked little bike.
The new CBR600RR is not hugely different from what 600cc sports bikes got to at their peak. It's 120 horsepower, it's 193 kilos. Those numbers aren't going to raise any eyebrows. It has got pretty high-tech electronics in terms of the 6-axis IMU, the latest state-of-the-art stuff for traction control, ABS, lean-sensitive ABS, engine braking control, wheelie control. So in terms of the electronics package, it's bang on the money for being up to date. But apart from that, it looks like a CBR600RR, and I think that's a good thing. It's only the cheeky little winglets on the side that give it away, but you park this anywhere, as I have done over the last few weeks, and everyone who comes up and goes, like the Honda, like there's no hesitation. That is what a Honda sports bike should look like. It is unquestionably, it's like the definitive Honda sports bike. It's a red, white and blue with an underseat exhaust and pointy squinty headlights. That for me is a Honda sports bike, and I love that they've stuck with that styling, and it looks as good now as it did back in 2003 when this shape first rolled out of the showrooms. The big thing for me is that we all stopped riding sports bikes. We moved to adventure bikes because they got faster. We moved to things like street triples and Hornets and naked sports bikes because, I don't know, I think we all as riders as a whole, as a community of motorcyclists, we want something different all the time. And Sports bikes are really uncomfortable if you ride them for a long time on the road. You have to rev the living daylights out of them to get any speed. Quite often, if you use them to their full potential, you come under the influence of 1 or 2 driving bans. They have their disadvantages. They're great on track, but as a road thing, sports bikes aren't perfect, not by a long way. So, naked sports bikes, cruisers, the retro fad, adventure bikes, they've all kind of taken over, and these things have kind of got pushed by the wayside. But I think it's been long enough now that you need to get back on one and give it another go, because I had forgotten just how good a sports bike felt. If you take your riding, 10 days of riding, average that out over the year, 10 days of riding on a sports bike, it will be the perfect machine one of those 10 days. The other 9 days, it will likely be too uncomfortable, too revvy, a little bit too nervous, a little bit too aggressive for the ride you're looking for. You know, they're not perfect all the time, but on that 1 day out of 10, when the sun's shining, you're in a great mood, the roads are quiet, there's nothing like it. They're nimble, they're sharp, they're aggressive, they feel special. And maybe it's just me, but every time I park that thing up, or any superbike, I can't help but stare at it. Those are the bikes I love, those are the bikes I always fantasized about from a kid. There's always a bit of me that will love sports bikes over and above anything else. And if you like that as well, you forgive the achy wrists, you forgive the fact that after 2 hours of riding you have to go and try and unfold your spine again. You accept those as kind of chinks in the armour, but they're part of the experience. They're the price you pay to have that real, hardcore, exciting riding. And no adventure bike, no street naked thing cruiser, no retro bike, nothing can give me the same thrill as riding one of them on a good road, on a good sunny day, when the traffic's calm. And that's that. The fact that Honda has come out when everybody else other than Kawasaki's kind of given up on the class and gone, we're not going to put all our eggs in the parallel twin basket. We're going to build the best CBR600RR that we can build without blowing the budget. And that's the important thing. If they'd made that 15, 16, 17 grand bike with all of the bells and whistles at 140 horsepower, it would have kind of missed the point. The fact that they've made that competitive with bikes like the Aprilia 660, bikes like those higher end parallel twin sports bikes that have started to appear, means you've got a choice. You can go with the new wave, you can go with this funky parallel twin thing, or you can get a bit of the old school, a bit of a proper screaming 4-cylinder bike that will put hairs on your chest and make the ones on the back of your neck tingle. We wanted to get a little bit of track action in on the 600RR, so we took it to Castle Combe for the Northover Family Track Day. I don't think they call it that, but I call it that. Every single person that walked past wanted to see it. They wanted to have a look, they wanted to ask some questions. We actually met a couple of people that own them, and their argument when I asked, why would you buy one of these, always a valid question with a motorcycle, was I can have 1 Fireblade or 2 of these. One of them said his mate has actually bought 2, bought 1 for the track and 1 for the road. Now, I was more looking at a cheaper entry-level to sports bike world thing, but hey, that is a big statistic, half the price of a blade. Get it out onto a track and it is an absolute blast. It's not the sharpest, pointiest, angriest thing on the planet. It never was. The CBR always did a really good job of balancing approachability with performance. If you wanted more, you could modify it, but out of the box, it was just an easy bike to go pretty damn fast on without being intimidated. And honestly, riding this on track at Castle Combe, it just rewound my brain 10, 15 years to the last time I rode one of these in anger. It just felt comfortable, forgiving, felt like I could do anything on it. The big improvement now, they've sorted the electronics, so where the last CBR600s I rode, the electronics got in the way, spoiled the ride, actually made some things on track a little bit dodgy. This one doesn't. I'd like to be able to turn it all off. You can turn the wheelie and traction control off, you can't turn the ABS off, especially on the rear wheel. But even within that, it still let me push pretty hard and get it skidding around and out of shape. They've done a good job of making a brilliant 600 usable for everyone. And I love that for all the other manufacturers looking at the cold hard numbers on paper and going, well, we're not going to sell many of them, let's not bother developing them. Honda, of all people, sensible grown-up Honda, who we all like to poke fun at for going, oh, they're a bit square. They've built another one. They've built another CBR600RR. Sure, it's not all new, but it's here. It's got wings and really good traction control and ABS, and you can buy it for 10.5 grand. Yes! Someone crazy still works at Honda, and they've given us the bike we want. I flippin' love it.